Hi everybody, I'm Jack Rita with Future Pastimes, and I'm a designer for the expansions to the Dune board game published by Gale Force 9. In this video, I wanted to talk about all of the bidding shenanigans, so all of the faction advantages that affect the bidding phase. And I want to provide you with an order of operations so that you know what has to happen first, what can happen first, and how everything else proceeds in that order. So let's dive right in. The first thing that can happen at the start of the bidding phase is the Rich S advantage called Black Market. It is an advanced game advantage and it is optional, so Rich S doesn't have to do it. But when you get to the bidding phase, that's the first thing that you should check if Rich S is in the game. Do you want to use your Black Market advantage? If they do, they're going to be selling a card from their hand. This is not necessarily a card from their Rich S Treachery stash that they have to sell each round unless they happen to have one of those cards in their hand. So normally what they're going to be selling is a cheap hero, or maybe trying to sell a worthless card or a duplicate of a shield, for example, or maybe something else that they think another player will really be able to use and they can get a lot of spice for it. When they do this, Rich S can say whatever they want about the card. They can say what it is. They can also lie about what it is. It will be sold face down. Atreides does get to see that card. Now, when Rich S sells this card, they can do it in one of three ways. They can do it as a normal auction, in which case the player who is first in storm order will open the bid for that card, and then bids will go around the table, players passing or bidding higher, and until all players have passed except for the last bid, and that player will get the card. And they will pay Rich S for that card. And Rich S can bid on it as well. Now, if nobody bids on it, the card goes back into Rich S's hand, and their intervention ends. The black market phase is over. If they do sell, they can only sell one card, and that's how that happens. Now, this happens before declaration. And declaration is where you all reveal how many cards you have, and then that determines how many cards are going to be sold. So the black market card can happen before people tell anybody how many cards they have, but they can only bid if they don't have a full hand. The other two auctions that they can use their once around, where they start with the player either on the right or the left of Rich S, and each player has one opportunity to bid, with Rich S bidding last if they so choose, or silent auction, where everybody puts the spice in their hand and they reveal simultaneously, and the high bidder wins with ties breaking in storm order. So that's black market. After that happens, the next thing is declaration. And this is where, again, you all reveal how many cards you have. And this is done so that you can determine how many players have full hands, so that you know how many cards are going to be up for bid. So for instance, in a 6-player game, if nobody has a full hand, you're going to have 6 cards up for bid normally. Now, if you have done black market, that is going to affect the number of cards up for bid. You're not going to have more cards up for bid. So again, if you have a black market at the start of the bidding phase and Rich S sells one of those cards, you get to declaration and nobody's hand is full in a 6-player game. That's 6 cards, but there's only going to be 5 cards because the black market counts towards that 6. And actually, there's only going to be 4 cards because Rich S is also going to be selling one of their special treachery cards, and that also affects the number. So we didn't want the auction phase to necessarily be longer because you're selling more cards. So every card that Rich S sells on each bidding phase is 1 fewer card total that's going to be up for bid. So you are using declaration to determine the number of cards that are up for bid, but you're always going to factor in the number of cards Rich S is selling that turn. The next thing that happens is Rich S has to declare if they're going to be first or last in that phase selling the Rich S special treachery card. Because if they're first, then they proceed immediately to selling that card. Now, if they go last, you're going to determine the rest of the number of your cards, and then I like to just have Rich S put a card face down near the treachery cards that you're selling so that players can remember to sell that card and you don't forget. But they don't have to reveal what the card is going to be, and not until they sell it. But let's say they are going first, and again, the example is a 6-player game, but nobody has a full hand. You've done a black market, so that's 1 card already sold. Rich S is going second, and then there will be 4 more cards that are part of the auction. The next thing that can happen, let's say that Rich S does go first. The next thing that would happen is the Ixian advantage. Now, their bidding advantage is they're going to take cards off the top of the treachery deck equal to the number of cards that are going to be sold that turn, not counting any rich S cards, plus 1. So the equation would be X minus R plus 1. That's how you determine how many cards the Ixians get to look at, because they're going to choose one of those cards to suppress. And they're either going to put it on top of the treachery deck or on the bottom of the treachery deck. Then you'll shuffle up those remaining cards, and that will be what comprises the rest of the treachery bidding phase. So they would do that after Rich S sells their card if they go first. If Rich S goes last, then the Ixians will do that right after declaration. They still have to factor in how that Rich S is going to be selling one of those cards. So again, if it's a matter of there would be 4 cards, then they would look at 5 cards, suppress 1, and then you would sell those 4, and then Rich S would sell theirs. The other thing that I will explain is the Ixian technology advantage, and that is where they get to take the next card that is up for bid and replace it with something from their hand. This is done before Atreides gets to see that card, and they cannot do it with any Rich S card. So they can't use technology on a black market card, and they can't use technology on a Rich S special treachery card. So let's say that Rich S did their black market, you did declaration, Rich S decides to go first, then the Ixians do their bidding advantage, and then the first card comes up, and the Ixians can say, and we are going to take that card and put a card from our hand up there using our technology advantage, which is once per bidding phase. And then Atreides would get to see that card, and then the auction would proceed. And again, with the Rich S special treachery card, whether they go first or last, if they don't get any bids on a card, they can either put that card directly in their hand or they can discard it. So that should cover all of the bidding phase advantages. It's black market, declaration, Rich S first or last. If they go first, that happens immediately. Then you have Ixians bidding. And then at any point with those normal treachery cards, Ixians can do technology. And if Rich S didn't go first, then they have to go last and sell that card. So there you have it. If you still have any questions, be sure to let me know in the comments. Let me know how you have enjoyed, or if you haven't enjoyed, having the Ixians and the Rich S in the treachery in the game, selling treachery cards as part of bidding. I actually kind of like it. I like how it shakes things up quite a bit. It adds some extra drama in there. As the Ixians, I like to bribe players to know what cards are going to be part of the auction, even though they won't know what order they're in. Whether Atreides is in the game or not, they have their own side deal where they tried to bribe people about the current card that's up for bid. But sometimes as Ixians, I can get 1 or 2 spice just by saying, hey, look, you get to see what's up there. You're going to know. Sometimes I let them even see what might be in there with the added card before I have suppressed it. Certainly when I'm Ixian and I have my ally in there, I like to get their take on what card we should take out and where we should put it. Certainly putting it on top is a nice thing, because if the Ixian ally buys that card, they can immediately discard it and just take the top card off the treachery deck. So one of the reasons the Ixians do make a very good ally. There you have it. That's it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.